Hello, welcome back to my studio. I am so glad that you're here today. And today I want to chat about a little life-changing lesson, the one piece of advice that I was told that was life-changing in both my art and in my life. When I was in grade 9, I started learning my artistic skills from an incredible painter, someone who would later become more of a mentor than just a teacher. She had this deep wealth of knowledge and is this amazing, exceptional artist. And I was so lucky to be in the room with her, learning week after week through my teens and early 20s. In one of my first classes, she asked me what I wanted to draw, and without hesitation, I said people. I like drawing portraits of people. So we started with the fundamentals and gradually built up from there. But one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever received as an artist came during those early days, and I really wanted to share that with you today. She asked me initially to draw what I saw, and it wasn't great. I did it, but it wasn't great. It didn't look that much like the reference image. The eyes weren't on the same axis. The nose was too long. The likeness just wasn't there. That's when she sat down beside me and said something that really stuck with me. Your brain makes up what it thinks it sees, and most of the time it's wrong. We can't really rely on that when we draw. We have to put aside what we expect to see and really focus on what's actually in front of us. I was confused at first, but then she began to show me how to really observe. She taught me to measure everything down to the size of the whites in the eye, and how that precision and the commitment to what is truly there can bring a portrait to life and create a really strong likeness to the reference. This completely changed how I approach drawing. Even now, every time I sit down to draw or paint a portrait, I think of that moment. I even flip the image of my drawing upside down just to trick my brain and to make it stop running on autopilot, because when it's confused like that, it starts really looking. And the reason this works is because our brains are masters at guessing. They fill in the gaps, they simplify things, they assume things. They're incredible at recognizing patterns, but the problem with that is that not all faces are the same. So we're in this constant battle of what the brain is expecting to see versus what it actually sees. The brain is constantly processing huge amounts of data, but it doesn't always respond to what is actually in front of us. It relies on past experiences, familiar patterns, and shortcuts. So when you're drawing a face, your brain might default to standard ideas of what a nose might look like, even if the real nose in front of you is completely different. You might draw a tree with perfectly balanced branches, even if the one you're looking at is wild and lopsided and unusual. So learning how to see really intentionally takes practice, but once you start challenging yourself and challenging your assumptions and just trusting what is in front of you, your art becomes so much more honest, more alive, and a lot more likeness. I'm so grateful that I learned this so early on, because once these habits are ingrained, they can be super hard to unlearn. This is also really hard with painting, especially with color and value. This way of thinking, of truly seeing rather than assuming, translates to painting so much. It's not just about drawing accurate shapes or proportions, but it's also about observing colors and values with the same level of honesty. For example, if we look at skin tones and shadows, our brain might tell us that's just beige or that's light gray. But if you really start to look, you'll see that there's bluish undertones, or greens, or reds, or pinks, even purples in the shadows, in the skins, and subtle shifts in temperature in the shadows and the lights. And when you start to view all the in-between colors, all the undertones can really push your painting into a new level. And the same goes for value. Our brain has this tendency to really flatten contrast or misjudge lightness and darkness because it's interpreting what it knows rather than what it sees, and it's just simplifying everything. And then when you train yourself to step back and compare values accurately, to check the relationships, you realize how important those subtle shifts are when creating realism. So, training yourself to step back and have a really good look, maybe squint when you're in the painting process, can really help, and just stay away from being absorbed in the tiny details the whole time. Once I started applying this to painting, not just drawing, everything opened up. My color mixing became much more intuitive, and my paintings started to feel a lot more rich and alive and dimensional, like they had a pulse themselves. Looking back, that one piece of advice was a turning point, not just technically, but creatively and in my personal life too. It gave me a foundation of observation with honesty, and it allowed me to grow with confidence. And it also gave me permission to slow down. So often we think creativity is about expressing what's inside of us, which it is, but part of us is also being able to receive and respond to what is outside of us, and to feel something real from these things and then translate it through our hands into our artwork. That mindset deeply, deeply influences my style now. I still do portraits, but I also love capturing these fleeting moments that feel true. Whether it's a figure, a landscape, or flowers, I try to create art that feels like a conversation between what I see, what's inside, and what's around me. This mindset has deeply influenced my style now. I still love doing portraits, but I also love channeling this into fleeting moments that feel true, whether it's a figure, a landscape, or an emotion, floral. I try to create art that feels like a conversation between what I see, what's inside, and what's around me, and to interplay them together. And that really starts with being able to look at things honestly and truly, and being able to translate this onto my canvas or my artwork and really respond in a way that is true and honest and meaningful, and then translating that and choosing where the line is for between what I see and what I respond to, and pushing the boundaries in that way. Anyway, that's what I have for you today. I hope that you enjoyed this little chat. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I'd love it if you would comment below and chat with me further on this topic, or follow along for more, and we can see where else this is going to lead me. I hope that today you have space, because today is a great day to go and paint. I am going to go and spend 30 minutes on this beautiful painting behind me and see where it takes me. I'm sending you so much love. Bye.